Hey y'all, Natalie here, and I am so excited that A Cherry on Top is now carrying Cocoa Vanilla Studio. So I'm working with the Legendary collection today, and I'm going through the papers here that I purchased from the store, and I love that one so much. Just showing you both sides. And I also got that die cut pack you can see up there. And I've gone through and pulled out the ones I think I'm going to use for that photo of my son I showed at the beginning. And I'm showing you, it's going to be a companion piece to this layout that I made in a previous video for Cherry on Top. And in that layout, I used Heidi Swapp Old School collection. And they go really well together. So I'm also going to use that new stencil from Wild Whisper, which is another new brand that A Cherry on Top is carrying. So I love Wild Whisper. I guess designed for them a while ago. And that stencil is super cool. So I have this piece of textured white cardstock. And I am trying to figure out how I want to use it. I know I want to do mixed media on the white cardstock and then use this piece of paper. And so the opposite side of this green map paper is a wood grain, which I'm always a sucker for wood grain. So I end up deciding that I'm going to cut strips of each, and here you'll see how I'm going to put them. So I grabbed just like a flimsy old piece of white background paper to just adhere everything down to. So that's the idea of what we're going with here. So now I'm going to get started on the mixed media part, and I have already put clear gesso on my white cardstock. So that's where I want my photo to go. And so I'm just showing you where I plan to put the stencil texture paste. I don't want to put it all over. I just want a few splotches with lots of color that kind of coordinate with the papers and the colors in the collection. This stencil is so cool. It's definitely my style. And I can't wait for you to see the way that all of the colors run in between the little squares. It's so cool. I think Nicole Wright is the name of the person that designed this stencil, and her collection from Wild Whisper is pretty cool too. So I'm kind of doing like a triangular shape there. And we'll have to let that dry, set it aside. But I do like the way that looks, exactly how I envisioned. So while we let it dry, I went off screen, and I sewed just at the top of those strips and at the bottom. So now I'm gonna go ahead and adhere down the white cardstock before I add any additional mixed media, because I know I won't want to wait for it to dry before finishing the page. I was like trying to hurry and get this done before we went on an anniversary date. My husband planned like a last minute little dinner, so I was like, okay, let me get this page done. So that's exactly where I want the photo to go. And I'm going to use my orange color burst because there's a lot of different pigment colors in there. It's mostly orange, but there's yellows, there's reds. And so I love how it has the different variations. So I'm going to spritz that and let it run in the squares. And you know, I keep some of the colors really vibrant and some of them are watered down. I end up not even using a brush on this. So super simple. Anyone could do this, and I mean anyone, okay? So I need to add more color there, but I'm just putting it in different spots on top of my texture paste and adding a little bit of water, not too much, just a tiny bit so I can control it, and letting it run in between the squares of the stenciled image. And yeah, it's super fun, and I love how it turns out. It's super grungy and messy, rustic, if you will, which is totally my style. Now, if you're a perfectionist, this wouldn't be for you. But you can totally soften this up with like pinks and pastel colors. And also, when the watercolors dry, they do soften up. And so it does look super vibrant right now, especially when I start adding the darker colors, but they do soften up as they dry. And the more water you add to them, the softer they would become as well. So that is a Shimmers color there. It's like a navy blue. I think it's called Don't Rain on My Parade. But so the the collection has some grays and some navy blues. Not really, I don't know the right name for the color, because it's like not quite true dark navy. It's like this dusky blue color. I really like it. So I definitely wanted to add it in, and the background and a few of the stars are pretty much the only places that have the blue. But since they were in some of the stars, I definitely wanted to add them into my background. So I'm loving how this is looking. It's exactly as I want it to look, really grungy, and the colors are not blending too much, because if that orange and blue blended, it would pretty much be mud. So now I'm going to add in this like gray black color. I'm going to water it down enough to where it's mostly just gray, because a gray is a color in the collection as well. I'm super excited. They have Cocoa Vanilla Studio in the store now. It's a company from Australia, so it's a little hard to get your hands on around here. And they have the cutest stuff, and their boy collections are legit. I've also used one previously, and I still use it. And you can see actually on the companion piece, I'll link down to the video below, but I did use Cocoa Vanilla Studio with the Heidi Swapp Old School collection, because it went so well. It's like that grungy boy look, and so it works really great for the pages that I make. I know a lot of times people say they have a hard time finding boy collections that they like, or there's so many pinks and florals and everything out there. So, which I have no problem using, excuse my dog, please, flowers on a layout for boys, but sometimes you just need to be grungy and show that these boys were jumping in mud puddles, which is what was happening here. So I already did the layout of my older son on his four-wheeler in the mud, and so this is one of my little guy. So he's wearing his helmet and he's standing in a puddle. So now I'm just using those same colors to splatter. I just grabbed a orange spray from my stash, because I didn't want to mix up more of that powdered watercolor, because it does make a little bit of a mess sometimes, and I didn't want to have to use a brush. So now it's dried, and we're going to start putting on all the die cuts and ephemera, which are super fun. Oh, this is a die from Pink Fresh Studio. It's their new Heather die cut, and it has a stamp set that goes with it. But I just have the die cuts, and it does like the inside part and the outside part, and I am such a sucker for just like a super thin alpha die. I have like 3 of them already. I love it so much. So I cut it out in craft, and I'm not going to even put the inside parts of like the P and the E, because you know what letters they are. I know that bothers some people sometimes, but look at that J. It even includes the dot already attached to the J, which I love, because you don't have to worry about losing the pieces. So that is definitely a purchase. It's a little pricey, but I know that I will use it so much, so it was worth it. Those are in the store, and they have like an ornate one as well that's really gorgeous. So I glued all those down, Puddle jumper, and now I'm going to start gluing down all the die cuts that I pulled out of the ephemera pack. And I try to make that fun work, but I end up not using that. So I'm just going to layer stars around. I put the extreme word on top of Puddle jumper, and I love it because it pretty much has every color that I've used on the page. And I put the little tags up there, and that really mimics the other page that I did of my other son, because these are going to be facing one another in my album. So I really love doing that, where I didn't match, or I didn't even use the same collections, but they coordinate. So it's like a double page spread, but not, they can stand alone or not. And the other page has arrows, so I wanted to use a couple of arrows on this page as well. And now I'm going to start adhering everything down. And on the other page, I used a lot of sequins. And so on this page, I'm going to use some Nouveau drops. I have that perfect orange color of Nouveau drops, so I'm going to use that here. So I started adhering everything down. I won't make you watch me go through everything, but I use my Nouveau glue because I've used texture paste there, and we know not much likes to stick to texture paste. So a really strong adhesive is necessary for these things to last. And yeah, that's about all I have to say. Also above the photo there, I just stuck one of the cardstock stickers just to show a little more color sticking out there. I just needed a little something. So I also add in 3 of those little typewriter phrase stickers. I just like to use 3. It's a good odd number. It doesn't really make a triangle because 2 are kind of right above one another, but that's okay. So I'm just adding my Nouveau, and that's about it. I will link down below with my affiliate link if you would like to shop at A Cherry on Top. I'd appreciate it if you use that. Please like and subscribe, and I thank you guys for watching. You guys have a great day. Bye.